Look at this photo. Now, look at this one. Same person, except now they're holding a photo of someone else. Your brain just did something you didn't ask it to do. Something you can't turn off, even if I tell you it's happening right now. You just decided that the second person, the one inside the photo, has less of a mind than the first, less capable of thinking, less capable of feeling, somehow less real. Scientists have a name for this. They call it the Medusa effect. And once you see it, you will never look at a photograph the same way again. Here's the setup researchers used. They showed people two kinds of images. In the first, a person looks directly at the camera, a normal photograph. In the second, that same kind of photo, except now it's nested. A person is shown holding or standing near a photograph of a different person. Then they asked a simple question. How much of a mind does this person have? Can they feel pain? Can they think? Can they make decisions? Are they in some fundamental sense real? The person photographed directly scored high. Obviously, they're right there looking at you. But the person inside the second photo, the nested one, scored lower every time across hundreds of participants. Not because anyone consciously believed the nested person was less human. Nobody would say that out loud if you asked them directly. But somewhere below conscious thought, their brain had already made the call. A photograph of a photograph doesn't just show you a person. It shows you something your mind treats as less of one. This research comes from a team at Kyushu University, led by researcher Jing Han, published in 2026. And what makes it worth paying attention to is how carefully they tried to break it. Because here's the obvious explanation you're probably already thinking. Maybe a photo of a photo just looks worse. Lower quality, blurrier, less detail. Of course people rate it as less real. It literally looks less real. The researchers thought of that too. So they controlled for image quality directly. Same resolution, same clarity, same lighting. The effect didn't budge. Then they tried something else. What if it's about familiarity? What if we just process nested images less carefully because they're structurally unusual? They ran the experiment across different levels of visual complexity, different framing, different contexts. The effect held. This wasn't a fluke of image quality. It wasn't a fluke of unfamiliarity. Something about the layered structure itself, a person inside a photo, inside another photo, was doing this to people's perception every single time. So the researchers got aggressive. They tried to kill the effect entirely. First, they turned the images upside down. If the Medusa effect were about recognizing a face, the specific features, the identity, flipping it upside down should scramble that recognition, and the effect should disappear. It didn't. People still rated the nested upside-down person as less mentally capable. Next, they masked the faces, covered up the exact features that let you identify someone as a specific individual. Still there. Then they used AI-generated faces, people who don't exist at all. No identity to lose, no real person being judged. The effect held anyway. And finally, this is the one that should genuinely unsettle you. They scrambled the facial features themselves, rearranged eyes, nose, mouth into something that barely resembled a coherent face anymore. The Medusa effect? Still there. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't about recognizing someone. It's not about facial features, identity, or familiarity. It's about structure, about nesting, about the simple fact of a photo existing inside another photo. Something in your visual system treats that structure, regardless of what's actually pictured, as a signal to downgrade how much mind you assign to what's inside it. The name is not an accident. In Greek mythology, Medusa's gaze turned people to stone. But there's a specific detail in that story that matters here. Heroes couldn't look at her directly. They had to look at her reflection, in a mirror, in a polished shield, to survive the encounter. A reflection, a copy, a representation once removed from the real thing. The researchers chose that name because it captures exactly what's happening in this effect. The moment something becomes a representation of a representation, a copy of a copy, something about its perceived aliveness quietly drains away. Medusa turned people to stone. A photo of a photo apparently does something similar to how alive we perceive someone to be. So why would your brain do this? This connects to something psychologists call mind perception, the process by which we automatically judge how much mental capacity to assign to something. A person, an animal, even an object sometimes. Mind perception isn't binary. It's not has a mind or doesn't. It's a sliding scale, and your brain is constantly, unconsciously, placing everything you see somewhere on it. A stranger on the street? High on the scale. A robot? Lower. A rock? Essentially 0. Researchers believe what's happening with the Medusa effect is that abstraction itself, the layers between you and the real subject, pushes something down that scale. A live person in front of you? Maximum abstraction-free contact. High mind attribution. A photo of that person? 1 layer removed. Slightly lower. A photo of a photo? 2 layers removed. Lower still. Each layer of representation seems to cost something. Not because the person actually has less of a mind. Obviously they don't. But because your brain's shortcut for judging how real, how present, how alive is this is quietly counting the layers between you and them. And here's what makes it powerful and slightly troubling. You don't get a vote in this. It's not a belief you hold. It's not something you were taught. It's a default setting running underneath conscious thought. And the researchers' data suggests you cannot simply decide to turn it off. Think about how much of modern life is built entirely out of nested images. Every profile picture on every app is a photo displayed on a screen of a person who isn't there. Every video call is a live feed of a face flattened into pixels on a screen. Every AI-generated portrait, increasingly common, increasingly convincing, is a representation with no original at all. If layers of abstraction quietly reduce how much mind we assign to what's depicted, what does that mean for a culture where almost every human interaction now passes through multiple layers of screens, cameras, and digital representation? Are we, in small, automatic ways, treating each other as slightly less real every time another layer gets added? A face on a video call, shared as a screenshot, reposted on another platform, viewed through someone else's phone camera in a photo of their screen? That's 4 or 5 layers deep before anyone even notices. The researchers aren't claiming this explains everything about digital dehumanization. That would be overreaching. But it's a genuinely uncomfortable data point in a world that keeps adding more layers between us.
Here's the detail that should actually stick with you. This bias survived every single attempt to eliminate it. Upside down, masked, AI generated, scrambled beyond recognition. That kind of robustness is rare in psychology. Most cognitive biases are fragile. Change the context slightly and they weaken or vanish. This one didn't budge no matter what the researchers threw at it, which suggests it isn't a quirk of how you were raised or something culturally learned or a bias you picked up from technology. It might be something much closer to a basic feature of how human vision and cognition process layered representations. Something built in, not learned. And if that's true, there may be no version of you, no matter how self-aware, how deliberately empathetic, how conscious of the bias, that fully escapes it. You can know about the Medusa effect right now, in this exact moment, and it will still happen to you the next time you see a nested photo. Knowing about it doesn't turn it off. To be fair, this is one study from one lab, however carefully designed. Replication matters in psychology, and a single result, even a rigorously tested one, isn't the final word. Other researchers will need to run this again in different populations, different cultures, different contexts before anyone calls it settled science. It's also worth remembering that mind perception judgments in a lab study are not the same as how you actually treat people in daily life. Rating a photo slightly lower on a scale isn't the same as genuinely dehumanizing someone. But the core finding, that abstraction layers measurably shift how much mind we assign to what we see, is difficult to dismiss. It held up against every attempt to break it within this study.
We like to think of our perception of other people as stable, as fixed, as something that responds to who someone actually is. The Medusa effect suggests otherwise. It suggests that something as simple as how many layers of representation stand between you and another person can quietly shift how much mind, how much reality, how much humanity your brain assigns to them. Not because you decided that, not because you were taught that, because somewhere in the architecture of human perception, distance, even purely representational distance, has always cost something. The mirror that let Perseus survive Medusa's gaze also meant he never looked at her directly. Maybe that's the real lesson here. The moment something becomes a reflection of a reflection, some part of us, quietly, automatically, stops looking at it as fully real. That's the Medusa effect, one of the strangest, most robust psychological biases I've come across, and one almost nobody has heard of. If this got under your skin a little, that's the right reaction. It got under mine too when I first read the study. If you want more of this, real psychology research explained without the fluff, subscribe. It's genuinely the only thing that keeps this channel able to keep making these. And I want to know, now that you know about this bias, do you think you can catch yourself doing it? Or does knowing about it change nothing? Drop your honest answer in the comments. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely curious what people say. If this video made you rethink something, even a small something, a like goes a long way. It's the difference between this reaching a few hundred people or a few 100,000. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.